I don't know about you, but I grew up on Top Model, so I've always been enamored by a model's versatility. The photo shoots, the go-sees, and most importantly, the catwalk. I've always loved the hustle and bustle of it and the ability for a model to just change clothes and go. When you think about it, there really is an art to strutting down the catwalk. The model is solely responsible for bringing garments to life by showing off movement, functionality, and grace, adhering to the designer standards while still showing off their stride and personality. I don't know about you, but that sounds like hard work to me. And what's even harder is making your walk signature enough to stand out amongst your peers. Today, we're going to discuss 5 of the best supermodels to ever grace a runway and what makes their model walk so iconic. But before we do, make sure you're subscribed to the channel for more fashion content just like this. Now, it wouldn't be right if I didn't start this list off by paying homage to Miss Pat Cleveland, a popular model during the 1960s and 1970s who was also one of the first African Americans within the fashion industry to garner success on the runway. What I enjoy most about Pat Cleveland's walk is the whimsicality of it all. Her ability to get into character and really bring whatever garment she's wearing to life is a science that needs to be studied by any model who has runway ambitions. The thing that you notice about Pat in comparison to any other model is that she's not scared to take it there. She doesn't care how silly she looks, but it's always fashionable, always playful, and always fitting for whatever designer she's walking for. Pay attention to her turns and how she just plays with every single thing around her. She's genuinely having fun. It's carefree and it's effortless and it's just individuality at its finest. What you'll notice about Pat's walk is that she's super light on her tiptoes. She uses every single part of her body to sell a garment, but it's always done in an elegant and prissy type of way. She also relies on her facial expressions to really convey whatever message that she's going for. Look at the feet placement. She does like a little kick to kind of do her turn and pivot, and she's still focused on the coat that she's modeling. It's science, really. Almost 60 years later, and we still have the pleasure of seeing that signature strut, that personality, and those fierce turns all on the runway. So shout out to you, Miss Pat. Next up, we have Brazilian-born model Gisele Bündchen. With over 30 years in the game, Gisele is known for her horse walk. So every time she pulls up to the runway, it's giving,
"This ain't my first time at the rodeo."
In order for me to really explain Gisele's walk, I'm going to insert a little clip of a horse. As you can see, even though it's in slow motion, this horse, when it gallops, all movement is leading directly from its knee. I don't know if you would call a horse's knee, but you get my drift. And it's using that force from the knee to make a firm stomp on the ground. Gisele does the exact same thing with her walk. Whether she's in a short, an evening gown, she always leads from her kneecap to make like this commanding type of stomp on the runway. And I've always been obsessed with it. It may look easy, but it's actually very, very hard to duplicate. Another unique element to Gisele's runway walk is her pivot. Typically, when a model gets to the end of the runway, they do like a full 360. Gisele almost bounces from one foot to another. And one thing that I noticed about her head placement, I liken it to a ballerina doing a pirouette. A ballerina typically will fixate on one corner or one space in a room, and their head doesn't deviate from that space, but their body does. And if you notice, Gisele's head is always locked, or her eyes are always locked on one thing when she gets to the end of the runway before she does her little 1-2 and walks off. And above all, you just have to respect her tenure in the game. She's been modeling since she was 18 years old. She's seasoned. She may not pop out on the runway as often as I would like to see her, but when she does, it's always a treat. So that's it for Gisele Bündchen. This next lady was described by fellow model Tyra Banks is having the walk of life. Yasmeen Ghauri is a Canadian-born supermodel who rose to popularity during the 1990s while walking shows for designers such as Alaya, Gianni Versace, Hugo Boss. If you were a big designer at that time, you wanted Yasmeen on your runway. Not only are her proportions incredible and impeccable, she has this slinky effect to her walk, which I'm sure has to do with her body structure. She doesn't necessarily lead from her legs or her hips, it's more so her whole body. Even her head is like in tandem with the rest of everything. The looks that she makes while walking down the runway aren't super serious or like super sexy. It's just subtly expressive. And she's a really good model, so beautiful to look at. I can watch this lady walk for miles and miles and miles. And so could everybody else. And that is why she stayed working. When we get into the technicality of Yasmeen's walk, we notice that she uses her arms a whole lot. Not in like a swingy, super sloppy type of motion, but she almost relies on them to kind of give that overall slinky effect. Like you see how her arms are moving the same way her hips are. It just goes for like an overall streamlined situation that just looks really good. Then she does not a full turn, but almost like two little semicircles, so you could get into every single angle of the outfit, which I love. Now, unfortunately, Yasmeen isn't one of those ladies we still see popping up on the runway ever so often. She left the industry altogether in 1997 to focus on her family, philanthropy work, and I think just being happy. So while I do miss her walk and would still like to see it as it's matured, I'm glad that she left to start doing things on her own. So shout out to her. There's no way I can make a list discussing iconic runway walks and not include this lady right here. Canadian-born Miss Shalom Harlow. The thing that makes Shalom's walk so special is her fluidity. You can tell that she has a strong sense of musicality and she's able to interpret that into her walk no matter the tempo of the beat that she's walking to. The movements in her hip are quite subtle, and she almost seems to glide across the floor like the runway is moving for her. And I always love the emphasis of the head movements. It's almost like a what's up, what's up, what's up every time she goes across the floor. I just think Shalom is one of those ladies who's just effortlessly good at what she does. I mean, when you look at this lady, she is a literal walking canvas. She can wear anything, make anything come to life. She doesn't have to be super extra. And she's just a really good model. And she's another one who I'm glad that we can still see active on the runway today. Proportions still great, walk still strong, looking beautiful. So definitely shout out to Miss Shalom Harlow. Last but certainly not least, we have the decreer, the runway destroyer, my favorite fashion model, fashion figure ever, Miss Naomi Campbell. This lady has been modeling for almost 40 years, and she is just a seasoned vet when it comes to this runway. I'm not even going to play around. We're going to go right into breaking her walk down. The number one thing that makes Naomi Campbell's walk so iconic is her confidence. You can't tell that lady, even in a show full of 20, 30 other women, that she's not the only one that matters as soon as she steps foot onto that catwalk. There's just an ease and a fluidity to everything that she does. Almost like a subtle little, you see it. Whether it's that cute little smile or full 360 turn at the end of the runway, one thing that Naomi Campbell knows how to do is speak to whatever clothing that she's wearing. That is her main focus, and to me, that's what puts her in a class all by herself. As good as she is at her job in every aspect of it, the thing that she cares the most about is the art form of fashion itself. And that says something because anybody can walk around a catwalk. I kind of liken it to what I do. I think that anybody could post an outfit picture. Anybody can, pose and look cute, garner a few likes. But do you understand the art form? Do you care? Do you understand why you're wearing what you're wearing? What the functionality behind it is? The designer, the aesthetic? Are you speaking to all of that? This woman does. She understands fashion like no other, and you can tell from how she interprets the clothing that she wears. And I just love her. Do you guys agree with the list I put together? Let me know in the comments below if you think that I left somebody off the list, if there's somebody who shouldn't have been on this list, and if you would like for me to make a part 2. As usual, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. See you all next time. Bye.